What's going on, and welcome into NFL on 365 Sports. I'm your host, Grayson Grunhafer, and let's keep these mock drafts going. Today, we are going to be previewing the Indianapolis Colts mock draft, and this preview, obviously, is going to be right before the NFL draft starts on Thursday night, so hope you enjoy. Let's do it. Welcome in. Today, we are talking about the Indianapolis Colts. So, another weird team with an interesting offseason. I mean, there was a lot of quarterback rumors, a lot of ways they could go about doing things, and they end up trading Carson Wentz, which I think was just a fantastic move by the organization as a whole. Obviously, the first trade did not work out well for them. That horrible finish against the Jaguars really dampened their season, as they were kind of a dark horse Super Bowl contender, according to many people. And so now they move on from Carson Wentz after 1 year, and you're sitting there going, man, this team is in trouble. You know, what are they going to do? They're going to have to rebuild with no draft picks and no quarterback. And instead, they just pulled an amazing move in getting Matt Ryan, a former MVP just 3 or 4 seasons ago. So to get him into the fold is an absolute steal. I think it automatically makes the Colts I don't want to say a contender because the AFC is really loaded, but I definitely think this makes them, probably inside the top 5, a playoff team, a team that will scare a lot of teams probably in the postseason as well. So with this draft class, they were able to get Matt Ryan, of course. They got Yannick Ngakoue at defensive end to provide a pass rushing ability, which they definitely needed. They got Stephon Gilmore at cornerback, which is fantastic as well. They've really added a lot of really good pieces, which makes their draft kind of simple, I feel like. They have to address the offensive line, and they have to address wide receiver. Those are the 2 positions there is no ifs, ands, or buts about. They have to go out and address them. I think at some point, tight end and cornerback could be addressed as well. So with this limited draft capital, let's dive in to pick number 42, which is the Colts' first pick in the draft. It's in the second round. And I think Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay are going to be sitting there praying for at pick 42 that their guy falls to them. And the guy that I think they're targeting, the guy who I think is the perfect fit for them, is Bernhard Raimann out of Central Michigan. The left tackle prospect looks like he fits the mold. He's a little over 6'6". He's right around 310 pounds. The length is there. The ability at left tackle is there. I know there's medical concerns, but I think this guy could end up being their best left tackle since Anthony Costanzo retired a few years ago. And they really need to address it. They absolutely have to, especially with Matt Ryan as their quarterback. Last year, I know Carson Wentz wasn't good, but his legs at times really saved the offensive line, especially in pass protection. Matt Ryan's not going to be able to do that. They have to figure out a way to protect him, and I think at pick 42, taking a guy like Bernhard Raimann could really make this team go to that next level in pass protection and take a lot of pressure off of Quentin Nelson as well. I just think they need to bolster that unit. Even though it's been really good, there's room for improvement there at left tackle. Moving on to pick 73, this is an interesting one for me. And the reason I say that is because I think David Bell is a very good player, the wide receiver out of Purdue, but he continues to fluctuate on the draft boards. I've seen him as low as pick 112. I've seen him as high as being a top 60 pick as well. But I think pick 73 is an area where the Colts can probably somewhat reach for him while also feeling great about this pick. I know he didn't test well. I understand that. But I don't think when you watched him in college, you were saying, man, this is a special athlete. This is Calvin Johnson. No, that's not David Bell's game. But what David Bell does extremely well is he gets open, he makes plays, and he consistently produces. And that's what the Colts need at wide receiver. Matt Ryan needs that in his offense. He needs stability. They have Michael Pittman. They have Paris Campbell, who knows if he's ever going to be healthy. They have the ability to go out and re-sign T.Y. Hilton, which I think they should do to give them a field stretcher down the field. But I think with this pick, they need security and basically a sure thing, in my opinion, at wide receiver, because here's what David Bell has done in his 3 years in college. 625 yards and 8 touchdowns in 6 games as a sophomore. At age 19, he had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns as a freshman. So his first 2 years, even with one being shortened due to COVID, he was fantastic. I mean, that is great production. And then last year, he went crazy. 1,286 yards and 6 touchdowns as a junior. He has an outstanding breakout age. He was a 4-star prospect and an All-American coming out of high school. I think he's a perfect fit once again, and he went to Purdue. So the Colts organization has gotten to see him many, many times. They know what David Bell can bring to the table, and I think he's a great fit for this Colts organization. Finally, at pick 122, this is in the 4th round. This is a pick that might shock some people, but I think it's a good move for the Colts to make. And it's the tight end position, and it's Charlie Kolar, the tight end out of Iowa State. So I love what I've seen from Kolar. I think he's a great pass catcher. He could use some improvement in pass blocking, but I think he's pretty well-rounded, to be honest. And I know the Colts signed Mo Alley-Cox back. They have Kylan Granson, who was a rookie last year, who I really like, especially in the pass game. But I think Kolar brings a little bit more production. I think he brings a little bit more run blocking to the table. And I think he fits what they're looking for. And for him, in the last 3 seasons, he has at least 591 yards and 6 touchdowns at Iowa State. The guy has been consistent and solid, and that's something that I continue to go back to with this Colts team. They need consistent and proven production if they're going to draft wide receivers or tight ends. They don't need projects. They need proven production. I think Charlie Kolar fits that mold. Some other great fits, and this kind of just depends on if guys fall to you, right? So Western Michigan wide receiver Sky Moore, I think he'd be great at pick 42. Jahan Dotson, if he fell that far, which he won't, at pick 42. Greg Dulcich at 73, the tight end from UCLA. Alec Pierce from Cincinnati would be another great option at pick 73 if he falls that far. And then at tight end, Jelani Woods, the tight end out of Virginia, and Jeremy Rucker, the tight end out of Ohio State, would also be 2 good tight end picks a little bit later in the draft. As far as trade up goes for this team, trades they could make, I think the only guy that they should and would, in my opinion, trade up for is Bernard Raymond out of Central Michigan. If they have to trade up for him, I think they would. And then as far as anywhere else, maybe a wide receiver. If the right guy falls far enough, maybe they decide to trade up and get ahead of some of those wide receiver needy teams at the beginning of the 2nd round. And then maybe quarterback. Who knows? Maybe they fall in love with Sam Howell or someone like that in the 2nd round, Matt Corral. Maybe something like that, and they decide, hey, you know what? We're going to trade up, and we're going to try to bolster our quarterback for the future purposes. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to ride with Matt Ryan, wait till next year to try to draft their quarterback of the future, and just kind of roll the dice with the team that they have going forward. So that's the Colts. That's my mock draft for them. They need proven production. I think they get it in this draft class. This has been Grayson Grunhaver on NFL on 365 Sports.